Hello, I'm Chip Stewart, Senior Fellow at CNA. I have a long background of almost 40 years in law enforcement. One of the things that struck me while I was in law enforcement is how when we come across a special, unusual incident that involves multiple units, we don't really document it so we can pass on the lessons we learn to other police officers and professionals to help improve the organization. CNA has a methodology that they've used with the military for 70 years to develop a very thorough after-action reconstruction and analysis that develops lessons learned. And let me talk to you just for a second about a lesson learned that was very close to a serious tragedy, and then have an analyst from CNA describe the methodology and the lessons learned. On June 29th, 2010, Tampa police suffered the murder of two of their officers at night during a traffic stop. The suspect fled on foot, and he was a fugitive for 4 days, resulting in one of the largest manhunts in the history of law enforcement, involving local, state, and federal agencies, and stressing both the police and the community. CNA became involved when the Tampa command had read the after-action report on the Oakland incident that occurred the previous year. They had used many of the lessons learned that were in that report to help improve their policies and operations. And as a result, they were able to avoid several of the pitfalls that the Oakland police were able to articulate and help other police departments as they're going down and try to confront unique and unexpected incidents. Tampa police leaders said that it was the best report by far that they'd read in any post-shooting circumstance involving the police. Now, Tampa called CNA and asked me if we could do something right away before the data perished, the information got lost, memories faded, and the lessons themselves were also lost. I was able to ask them whether they had enough sufficient resources to cover that, which Oakland did, but Tampa was in a financial difficulty and asked if I could find some additional funds, maybe with a federal sponsor. And that's when we went to Bernard Malekian, who was the director of the COPS office and served with me on the Oakland after-action report. I presented the situation to him, got Tampa police to the chief to sign a letter indicating that CNA ought to conduct the after-action report with lessons learned and that they needed federal assistance. We were able, thanks to the quick response by the Department of Justice, to be able to assign analysts and arrive 4 weeks after the incident occurred to begin to capture the data. And I'd like now to have Denise King come forward. She's our lead analyst on this project to talk about the methodology and the analytical approach. Denise?
Okay, so there were a couple challenges in this project. First of all, the suspect is currently facing the death penalty trial, so we were not allowed to review any of the investigatory aspects of the incident. And therefore, before we start analysis on the incident command system, which is incident management, as well as community policing. The methodology to the report, we began by reviewing the National Incident Management System and the Incident Command System, which is a national guideline to incident management. We then went out to Florida and conducted over 30 interviews, collected data while we were there. And upon returning to CNA, we conducted additional research using press releases in the media. We then reconstructed the data that we collected and put together a timeline of the incident. We analyzed all of the data collected as well and identified common themes and lessons learned. Before I review the lessons learned, I'm going to quickly define the two focus areas. Again, the Incident Command System is a nationally mandated guideline for incident management. It is a way to standardize and organize response in a large-scale incident. ICS, Incident Command System, is meant to be flexible and serve as a guideline for incident management. It was developed by the Fire Service and adapted by the Department of Homeland Security and is now a presidential directive and national guideline. In order for agencies and departments to receive federal funding, they must show compliance with ICS. Community policing was our other focus area, and it basically is the use of the community to reduce and prevent crime. Now, looking at community policing and community partnerships was particularly important to the COPS office, because in most incidents like this, the police operations can often be seen as invasive and can cause uproar. The Tampa incident, however, did not involve community riots or uproar, and instead the community played an essential role in the successful arrest of the suspect. First of all, are a couple of the lessons learned. One of the lessons learned was the command of the incident naturally migrated to a unified command between Tampa Police and the Hillsborough County. Both law enforcement agencies had trained together, conducted joint exercises, and worked together on a daily basis. In addition to this, the location of the shooting took place within blocks of the Hillsborough County call center. So when the 911 call came in and went straight to the Hillsborough County Dispatch Center, it was transferred to Tampa. As a result, both agencies responded to the scene within minutes. Hillsborough County also provided the mobile command unit to the scene within the first 30 minutes and were quick to assist by providing the additional support needed. As noted before, Tampa adapted the incident command structure to best suit their needs. Again, many police departments are reluctant to use and implement ICS, fearing that it is too rigid and does not allow for inclusion of all aspects of police operations. In this incident, Tampa found a way to use ICS in a way that best suited their needs, and were able to manage 22 agencies and over 1,000 personnel. Here's the ICS structure is defined by the national guideline. And now here is the Tampa Incident Command System structure. As you can see, Tampa Police adapted the ICS structure to best suit their needs. In addition to using a unified command, Tampa broke out the planning section into a number of branches. Planning for the funeral and planning on how to handle the tips received from the public were broken into their own branches. In addition, investigations and intelligence were also broken up to ensure that the information gathered on the suspect was not compromised. The section commanders from the intelligence and investigation branches were sure to keep the unified command aware of their findings and include themselves in the periodic briefings to assess, validate, and deconflict information. In addition to breaking out the planning section, Tampa also combined their logistics and finance and administration branches, as they were overseen by one branch commander. Another lessons learned, the recently purchased 800 MHz radios provided critical interoperable communications. The radios were purchased for the whole region using funding provided by the Urban Area Security Initiative, which is a grant program that is funded by tax money. This incident was the first time Tampa Police had used the newly purchased radios. These radios allowed Tampa to communicate with the other agencies on the same radio frequency. In addition, those agencies that did not have these radios were provided one by Tampa. With over 8 SWAT teams ranging from local to federal teams, it was essential for each team to be on the same page in order to ensure safety and the success of their operations. Most of the SWAT teams at one point or another had trained with each other. Before going out on operations for this incident, the SWAT teams agreed that they would only use plain English to communicate and to avoid misunderstandings and ensure safety. So instead of using team-specific techniques like tapping each other on the shoulder to communicate, they agreed that they would use plain English and simple, basic techniques. Unlike fire departments who have already implemented the use of plain English to communicate with each other, police departments have not done so. Blending the SWAT teams not only allowed them to ensure sustainability throughout the 4 days, but also ensured that those teams that were not familiar with the geography of Tampa were teamed up with SWAT team members that were. Another lessons learned, eSponder could have been implemented earlier in the incident. eSponder is an emergency management software used to assist commanders in organizing and managing a large-scale incident. The use of this software was not implemented, however, until 12 hours after the incident began. At first, the tips went straight to the 911 dispatch center. However, after a couple of hours, the number of tips grew so large that the dispatchers could not keep track of the tips, their integrity, and whether there had been duplication of efforts. Once commanders realized this issue, they utilized eSponder to document, track, and assign patrol officers and SWAT team members to the various tips. Because of our analysis, Tampa has changed their policies and procedures to call for the immediate implementation of eSponder in every incident. In fact, a few months ago, when another officer was shot and killed in a nearby jurisdiction, Tampa was quick to respond and assist them in immediately implementing eSponder. Another lessons learned, in an attempt to increase community support for the police actions as well as to eliminate any possible uprisings within the community, the Tampa Police Public Information Officer developed a strategy that humanized the officers and made the public aware of the suspect's past criminal history. The officers shot and killed were portrayed in the media as fellow community members, not just officers, but brothers, fathers, sons, and coaches and supporters of the community. Making them fellow community members ensured that the public would see the fallen officers as part of the community and not just as officers killed in the process of making an unwarranted arrest. The public information officer also thought it was important to show the community that the suspect was wanted for killing 3 other community members. Announcing this information to the public gave greater need to capture the suspect, making him not only a cop killer, but someone who was a threat to the community. Another lessons learned, the extensive donations from the public, non-governmental organizations, and local businesses were made throughout the 4 days. Because the command post was out in the open rather than at the police department, many members of the community would stop by the command post with cases of water and food. In addition to this, local businesses like Outback Steakhouse, Johnny Carrabba's Italian Grill also provided food, while the local internet provider provided wireless internet access to the officers of the command post. Non-governmental organizations like Mothers Against Drunk Drivers also provided volunteers to assist the officers in keeping the command post organized and clean. Tampa community leaders also share the responsibility with the police and contributed to the outcome of arresting the suspect without any additional loss of life. As the search for the suspect continued, the police had the suspect's pastor and his mother plead with him to put an end to the manhunt and turn himself in. In addition to the police and the community members, the community posted flyers with the suspect's mugshot. A local business also donated billboards across Florida and in neighboring states and had the suspect's mugshot pictured on these billboards. Because the suspect's face and the ongoing manhunt operations were constantly in the news and fresh in the minds of the community, it made it difficult for the suspect to flee and therefore left him with no other option and was ultimately arrested. Now again, I just highlighted a couple of the lessons learned. After we completed our report, we delivered it to Tampa and to the cop's office. The report was recently made public, and here's a link to the video. Now here is Chip Stewart, and he's going to review our future-related work.
Thank you, Denise. You can see that the lessons learned are important for arming us in the future on how we're going to address and organize our resources to deal with a tragic incident that involves the entire community and multiple police agencies. As I said before, CNA has a methodology that's been honed over 70 years, and if you go to www.smartpolicinginitiative.com and go on the website there, you'll be able to also download the Oakland report to look more clearly at the lessons learned and the analysis, as well as the Tampa Bay Manhunt. Those two are on our website, and we'll have another report ready probably this fall that will be for the Baltimore Police Department. That's where another tragedy occurred where an officer, a plainclothes officer, was shot and killed by 4 uniformed officers in a tragic mistake. Again, the analysis that goes into this is based on rigorous facts, information. It is tied to a specific baseline so we can deconflict the information and develop solid evidence-based lessons learned. So if you'd like to take a look at this or reach out to us, be sure to go to www.smartpolicinginitiative.com. Thanks for listening.